Well, I want to go across the table and get sort of a thumbnail view of the job market from each of your particular perspectives. Marcos, how have the workplaces that SEIU organized been doing, and how have your members fared over the last couple of months?
Well, we're being hard hit by the economy as well. I think that if you look at in the public sector, which is one of the sectors that we organize in, clearly it's been in the news for weeks now, the conflicts in Wisconsin, Indiana, and Ohio, to mention a few. It's a situation that really is difficult. And I think that, however, unions have been flexible and have been willing to give up some of their standing economic negotiation chips, but the situation with the governor seems to be intent on destroying the bargaining rights of the workers. So I think that it's a dangerous situation for the American worker to be in general, because unions have sort of been the standard for the rest of the workforce in many ways.
Albert, how does it look to you?
Well, what I've seen as of late is that two of the sectors that have been hardest hit are manufacturing and construction, which is where we are oversampled in a lot of cases. You couple that with the growth being in the medical field, where Latinos aren't necessarily employed in those sectors in large numbers, and you have sort of a double whammy. It all goes down to education. You know, a lot of our high school students aren't pursuing high school, let alone college. So I'm not as worried about the current market or job trends as I am the long term. If we don't do something to reverse that trend, then we're going to be in for a long-term problem.
Algernon, that's a good handoff, because that's
yes.
a lot of your specialty.
Yes, yes. You know, in the piece that we saw, looked at a young person, someone now entering the labor market, and the youth labor market currently is the worst that we've seen since World War II. So we're in a serious jobs crisis now, and it has and will continue to hurt people of color disproportionately, the Latino workforce in particular. Before the recession, Latino high school grads and white high school grads basically had the same unemployment rate, the recent high school grads, but now we see a higher unemployment rate for those youth relative to white youth. So we do see these sort of persistent disadvantages, and they've been exacerbated by the downturn. And the projections are we're going to be in a weak economy for as long as, you know, we have reliable projections. So probably another 1-2 years before the Latino unemployment rate even drops below 10%.
Wow. Juan Carlos?
Yeah, I actually don't like being doom and gloom, but you know, I agree this is going to last at least, you know, 1 to 2 more years, if not maybe a third. When we're looking at that 9%, 9.8 to 9%, I think there are a couple of things that need to remember. One of it is the undocumented workforce is not reflected in that pool, so that adds to the number, particularly when you look at Hispanic community. And number two, I think that unions and organized labor and other employer organizations sort of realized that they needed to do concessions. So it's a question of the salary. The jobs have been there, but do they pay the same? Are for the same length of time that people actually end up working deals where they're working maybe 4 days out of the week and they're earning a fraction of what they used to earn before, just to be able to keep that job or some bread on their family. I think if we were to compare it to what it used to be at the level of employment and at the prices and at the wages that they were earning before, we still have ways to go before we get back to those days.
Well, you heard Marcos mention that unions have, in order to save jobs, made concessions, but in the case of Wisconsin and several other states, that doesn't seem to be enough. They're going for their heads instead.
It appears to be so.